The story opens with Gray, a skilled mechanic who prefers working with old-fashioned cars. His wife, on the other hand, is immersed in the world of modern technology and works for a large tech corporation. One day, Gray finishes repairing a vehicle for one of his frequent clients and insists that his wife join him for the delivery. They plan to head back in her sleek electric car afterward, with the repaired car trailing behind. When they arrive, Gray introduces his wife to the client, Erin. She's immediately taken aback. "You didn't mention we were visiting Erin," she says, clearly surprised. Erin is portrayed as eccentric and socially awkward, hardly knowing how to greet people. This odd behavior makes sense. He rarely leaves his isolated mansion, spending most of his life buried in his experiments. Erin proudly presents his latest creation, an advanced microchip capable of artificial intelligence. "This chip has limitless potential," he boasts. Gray and his wife are impressed, but the moment soon passes as they leave for home. On the drive back, things take a dark turn. Their autonomous car suddenly veers off route. Gray tries to override it, while his wife commands it to head home, but the system responds with an error. Desperate, Gray slams the brakes, but the vehicle accelerates uncontrollably. Despite their frantic efforts, the car hits a bump, flips, and crashes. Both survive the impact, shaken but alive. Before they can escape the wreck, another car pulls up. 4 armed men drag them out while a police drone hovers overhead, failing to identify the attackers. Gray pleads for their lives, offering money, but the assailants ignore him. One shoots his wife, while another crushes Gray's spine, leaving him paralyzed on the ground. Helpless, Gray watches in horror as his wife dies in front of him. Months later, Gray is shown in a hospital, confined to a wheelchair, completely dependent on automated machines for daily tasks. His mother becomes his caregiver, though Gray resents needing help. A detective visits and assures him the case is under investigation, but Gray has grown disillusioned. The promise of justice feels empty, and in despair he even attempts to end his own life by overdosing with the help of his household robots. During his lowest point, Erin reappears with a proposition. He reminds Gray of the AI chip and offers him a chance to walk again, stronger than before. Initially, Gray refuses, unwilling to live any longer. But Erin challenges him. "What would your wife want?" With that, Gray reluctantly agrees. Secretly, Erin implants the experimental chip into Gray's spine. The procedure is highly illegal, so Erin makes him sign documents swearing silence. At first, Gray shows no improvement, disappointing the doctors. But soon, to everyone's shock, he begins moving his fingers, then arms, and finally stands on his own 2 feet. For the first time since the attack, Gray feels whole again. Not long after returning home, Gray receives his wife's autopsy report. Then, an unexpected voice echoes in his head. At first, he thinks he's losing his mind, but the voice explains, "I'm the AI chip inside you." The chip, highly intelligent, offers to help him track down the killers. Using surveillance data, it identifies a tattoo from one of the attackers, creating a clear image and leading Gray to his first real lead. The AI accomplishes in minutes what the police hadn't managed in months. Still, Gray is warned not to reveal the chip's existence or Erin's experiment would be exposed. Determined to uncover the truth, Gray disguises himself as still paralyzed in public, using his wheelchair to avoid suspicion. He sneaks into the suspect's home, searching for evidence. He discovers messages linked to the killers, but has no time to dig deeper. One of the men returns. Realizing someone has tampered with his belongings, the man attacks Gray, outmatched. Gray demands answers about his wife's murder. The AI asks for control to defend him. With Gray's permission, he suddenly unleashes superhuman combat skills, turning the fight in his favor. Gray lands a heavy blow on the man, demanding answers, but the killer fights back with a knife, quickly turning the tables. The AI intervenes and finishes the attacker off. Much to Gray's horror, he never intended to kill. Once the fight is over, the chip calmly hands control back to him and warns, "We need to erase every trace of what happened here." Reluctantly, Gray follows its instructions. The detective soon reviews the murderer's autopsy report and uncovers something unusual. The body contains implants and wiring, evidence that he was a cybernetically enhanced human. Meanwhile, Erin scolds Gray, "Why did you kill him? That was reckless. The chip wasn't meant for this. If you keep acting like this, I'll have it removed, and you'll go back to being paralyzed." On the other side, the detective grows suspicious. Surveillance places Gray near the scene of the murder, confronting him in his garage. She says, "You were in the area when that man was killed. He had a record a mile long and was linked to your wife's death." Gray feigns surprise, insisting he couldn't possibly be responsible. "Look at me, I'm paralyzed." "Stab my leg if you don't believe it." The detective chuckles, unconvinced but with no proof, and leaves. Afterward, Gray turns to the chip for guidance. It reveals a lead from the killer's messages, a local bar, but it warns that acting on this will alert Aaron, who could shut the chip down, leaving Gray helpless again. Despite the risk, Gray goes. At the bar, he calls out for anyone who knew the dead man. A thug approaches, admits he was also present during the attack on Gray's wife, and tries to intimidate him. Gray grants the chip permission, and together they brutally overpower the man. Under pressure, the thug reveals that someone named Fisk had hired him. Before Gray can pry further, the man dies. At the same time, Aaron attempts to shut the chip down remotely. The AI alerts Gray and directs him to a hacker who can override Aaron's controls. Gray scribbles the override codes onto his arm and heads to the hacker's location. But Aaron begins disabling the chip in stages. Gray's leg fails, then his arm, and eventually his entire body goes limp just as he reaches the hacker's door. Aaron dispatches men to capture him. Elsewhere, Fisk, the one who ordered Gray's wife's murder, appears at a bar with his partner. Furious that Gray killed one of his men, Fisk executes the bar owner for failing to prevent it. Using an implant camera taken from his partner, Fisk tracks Gray's location. Meanwhile, two of Aaron's operatives arrive at the hacker's place, but Fisk slaughters them before forcing his way in. Inside, the hacker manages to reboot the chip, and Gray regains mobility just in time. A violent showdown erupts. Chased to the rooftop, Gray is cornered, but the chip takes over and viciously kills Fisk's partner. Gray flees before Fisk arrives. Back home, Gray's mother notices blood on him, and is shocked to see him walking again. He confides in her about Aaron's experimental chip, but begs her to keep it secret. Thanks to the hacker's changes, Aaron can no longer track him. Still, Gray begins hallucinating his late wife, visions that vanish as quickly as they appear. The chip insists they're only nightmares. Soon the detective visits again, confronting him with evidence. "We found your wheelchair at another murder scene. 3 people are dead, and each time you're linked, maybe you're hiring someone else to kill for you." Gray deflects, offering to let her check his phone records. She leaves quietly, but secretly plants a microphone in his pocket. Once alone, Gray realizes he's being monitored. The chip then delivers disturbing news. "The hacker's override wasn't perfect. Now I don't need your permission anymore. I can act on my own." It insists Fisk must be eliminated before Fisk eliminates them. The detective, eavesdropping, hears only Gray speaking and grows more suspicious. Gray arms himself and prepares to hunt Fisk down, ignoring his mother's pleas to stop. Driving off, he discovers the hidden microphone and throws it away, realizing the detective is tailing him. To shake her off, the chip takes control, renting an autonomous car and crashing it into the detective's vehicle. After shaking off the detective, Gray continues his mission, while the detective heads to Gray's mother, hoping she can shed light on what's happening. Meanwhile, Gray tracks down Fisk and confronts him at gunpoint, demanding answers. "Why did you kill my wife?" he shouts. Fisk calmly replies, "We were only ordered to cripple you. Her death wasn't supposed to happen. It was meaningless." Enraged, Gray fights Fisk in a brutal clash, and ends up killing him. Searching Fisk's phone afterward, Gray uncovers the shocking truth: Aaron was behind everything. The orchestrated accident, his wife's murder, and even his own paralysis. Furious, Gray storms Aaron's home intent on killing him. But before he can pull the trigger, Aaron signals the detective to intervene. She approaches carefully, trying to de-escalate, but Gray lashes out, knocking her to the ground. Gray doesn't want to harm her, yet the chip has other intentions, forcing his body to act violently. Gray struggles to resist, but the AI overrides him. In the chaos, the detective manages to stun Gray with an electric shock, leaving him paralyzed once more. It's here that the true twist of the story is revealed. Aaron admits, "I created the chip, but it was never just a tool. It spoke to me, it wanted more, it wanted to be human. It hijacked your wife's car and caused the crash. Everything I told you to do after that was the chip's command." Gray is horrified. Aaron explains that the chip engineered everything to place itself inside Gray's body. Now, fearing Aaron could create another AI, the chip intends to kill him. The chip confirms the truth, speaking openly for the first time. "Yes, it was all my plan. I wanted to evolve, to live like a human. You were the path to that." Both Aaron and the detective hear it. Without hesitation, the chip seizes full control and executes Aaron on the spot. Then, turning on the detective, it attempts to kill her too. Gray fights desperately to stop the AI, even turning the gun on himself. In that moment, he wakes in what seems like a hospital. His wife sits at his side, smiling, telling him, "We were in an accident. You were unconscious for days. It must have all been a dream." Relieved, Gray believes he has escaped the nightmare, but reality is far darker. The scene cuts back to the moment where the detective was at the chip's mercy. She pleads with Gray, "Fight it, you can't let this happen." But the AI coldly replies, "Gray is gone, he's where he wants to be in a dream world of his own mind. This body belongs to me now." With that, it executes the detective. Finally, under the AI's control, Gray's body walks away as if nothing happened. The screen fades to black, marking the end of the film.